Have you ever heard a scream that didn't sound human yet, still felt like it was meant for you? If tonight's story chills you to the bone, remember to subscribe for more tales with twists that will haunt you long after the last word. The first scream came just after midnight. It was not a loud scream, nor even a human one, yet it was enough to wake Arthur Hale from his uneasy sleep. A sound stretched thin across the silence, drifting through the cracked window of his rural home like the moan of a dying animal. He sat up in bed, heart pounding, and told himself it was only a fox, or the wind in the valley. But deep down, he knew it was neither. Arthur was not a man given to superstition. Though he had lived most of his 60 years alone in the crumbling Hale estate, a house older than the town itself. The villagers whispered about the place, said it should have fallen years ago, that its walls were built on cursed ground. He never listened, but tonight, that scream faint stretched, unnatural clung to him, in a way reason could not explain. By morning, Arthur had almost convinced himself it was a dream. Almost. Yet when he went to fetch water from the old well at the edge of the property, he found something that made his breath catch. A thin trail of wet footprints, bare and child-sized, led from the well toward the house. They ended at the front steps, where the dry earth swallowed them whole. He stood frozen, the bucket heavy in his hands. He had no children, no visitors, no neighbors within half a mile. Still, the prints were there, dark and glistening against the soil, as if someone or something had walked through water and then vanished. That night, the scream came again, louder, closer. Arthur bolted upright, clutching the lamp from his bedside. The sound was inside the house. He crept down the staircase, each step groaning beneath his weight, and followed the noise to the drawing room. The door, which he was certain he had locked, was ajar. Inside, the heavy curtains swayed, though the windows were shut. On the table lay a book he had not opened in years, the leather-bound journal of his grandfather, Jonathan Hale. The pages were parted, as if someone had been reading. Arthur lifted the book with trembling hands. Scrawled in the brittle ink of another century, he read, "It will not leave me. Night after night, the child stands by the well. Her eyes are pale as milk. She knows my name." Arthur slammed the journal shut, pulse racing. He told himself he would burn it in the morning. Yet when morning came, he found the journal had vanished. The third night brought rain, and with it, something worse. Arthur woke to a rhythmic tapping at the window. When he pulled back the curtain, he saw her. A girl, no older than 7, with dripping hair plastered to her face and eyes that reflected the lamplight like glass. She did not blink. She simply raised a small, pale hand and pressed it to the glass. Arthur stumbled back, the lamp nearly slipping from his grasp. But when he looked again, the window was empty. Only the rain, only his own face staring back at him. By dawn, the unease had settled into dread. He tried to distract himself with chores, patching the roof and mending broken shutters, but the silence of the house seemed to grow heavier by the hour. He could almost hear whispers in the walls, sighs in the floorboards. At midday, he returned to the well, determined to seal it with stones. Yet as he leaned over the rim, he froze. Far below, in the black water, something moved. A pale face turned upward, 2 glassy eyes stared back at him, and then lips parted. Soundless, a child's voice formed his name. Arthur reeled away, falling hard against the ground. His breath came in ragged bursts. When he forced himself to look again, the water was still. Only his own reflection shivered in the depths. That night, the house did not sleep. Doors opened on their own. Shadows bent where no light touched him. And the journal he had lost, lay once more upon his desk, open to a fresh page. New words had been written in his own handwriting, though he swore he had not touched the pen. "She is not a stranger. She waits for me because she belongs to me." Arthur's mind frayed at the edges. Had the loneliness of years finally broken him? Or was the curse his grandfather wrote of real, passed down with the house like blood in the veins? He considered fleeing, but the thought gnawed at him. If he left, would she follow? On the 7th night, the storm came. Thunder rolled like cannon fire above the valley, and the house groaned as if it would tear apart. Arthur sat in the drawing room, the journal before him, a candle flickering low, and then the air grew cold. Breath misted from his lips. He felt her before he saw her. The girl stood at the doorway, hair dripping, nightgown clinging as if she had just climbed from the depths. Her eyes were hollow pools of pale light. Arthur's voice cracked. "What do you want?" She tilted her head, water dripping onto the floorboards. Then she whispered, clear as a bell, "You took me." The word sliced through him. He shook his head. "No, I've never." Her eyes narrowed, and in an instant the memory struck him. A memory buried deep, one he had never dared to touch. He saw himself, a boy no older than 10, standing by the well with his grandfather. He heard a splash, a scream, a girl's hand reaching out, swallowed by darkness. His grandfather's voice, commanding, "Forget." "Arthur, you saw nothing." The room spun. He clutched the table to steady himself, but the truth poured into him like the storm outside. The girl was real. She had been real. And the guilt was not his grandfather's, alone it was his. The child took a step closer, and the boards creaked under her bare feet. "You left me," she whispered. Arthur fell to his knees, tears streaking his face. I was a child. I didn't know. But she only watched him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she raised her hand again, pointing toward the well beyond the walls. The candle guttered out. When the villagers came days later, they found the house empty. The well had been sealed tight with stones, as if by desperate hands. No trace of Arthur Hale remained, save for the journal on the desk. The last line, written in a trembling scrawl, read, "I remember now, and she remembers me." On stormy nights, they still hear her, sometimes a laugh, sometimes a scream stretching across the valley. And now, when people pass the ruins of the Hale estate, they swear the well calls to them too, softly, patiently, as if waiting for another name to remember. So if you hear your name whispered in the dark, ask yourself who's doing the remembering. And if this story left you unsettled, subscribe now, because the next one may call your name.